Most people say that your forearms will grow just passively through grip, through things like pull-ups or deadlifts or whatever, right? But if you're a skinny guy and you want to maximize the potential of your forearm growth, then it's just not going to cut it. It's just not enough. And you're going to want to actually train them directly. My name is Naveed, and I used to be super skinny. Like, I used to weigh under 80 pounds, and now I've built a pretty aesthetic physique at just 16 years old. And part of having an aesthetic physique is your forearms, right? They make you look masculine, strong, and they're always visible because, if you're just walking around wearing a shirt, then your forearms are the thing that's going to be always visible. It's also just important to balance out the rest of your physique, and especially your upper arm. And obviously, it just looks cool. You want to get those Popeye forearms. But the thing is, a lot of those people who take more of a minimalist approach and they just kind of, don't train their forearms directly and they say that it'll grow from deadlift or whatever, those are the people who have kind of like the inverted Popeye physique, if you know what I'm saying. Their forearms are kind of disproportionately smaller than the rest of their physique. And also, those people are usually the same people who say that pull-ups will grow your biceps and bench will grow your triceps. And let me tell you, that is not the case. And if you follow that advice, you're going to end up with the spider physique, which you do not want. I mean, when I started, all I wanted to grow was my arms because they were like just super skinny, right? So, I mean, naturally, I kind of fell into the epidemic of the spider physique, but I came out of it and realized you actually should train your arms directly, especially if you started out as skinny as I did and you want to actually grow them. And maybe for some people it is just enough, and maybe they have good genetics or whatever, but I mean, I'm sure you don't want just enough. You want to actually maximize the growth of your arms. I think it makes more sense to take more of a maximalist approach and sort of like have the mindset of, if you can do more to get more, then why not? Like, honestly, I love working out, and if you have the same passion, then don't let people tell you that deadlifts are just enough and then end up with average forearms when you could have actually done direct forearm work that would have been fun and benefited you. I'm sure you want to have complete development of your physique, and part of that is your forearms, and so you should actually train them directly. Now, this could still be through grip. Like, it doesn't have to be wrist curls or whatever, but I'm just saying to do it like deliberately, not just passively through other movements saying it'll grow from them. Like, you should be excited to do more to get more results. And with forearms, that's absolutely true. And sure, there is a ceiling, but like, I mean, your forearms can recover pretty well. And, obviously it's not going to create much fatigue. So why not? Don't neglect isolations for aesthetics. I mean, that could be a whole other video, but like, isolations just get like shit on for no reason. But really, like, they can be very useful to actually develop certain muscle groups. Because, I mean, if you want to look like a powerlifter, then sure, maybe only bench and then have kind of smaller arms, but isolations will help you actually get a fully developed and proportionate physique. Now let's get into how I actually train my forearms. Now, I use pretty high frequency, so about 3 times per week, because they can handle it and probably grow better from high frequency. And the first exercise is basically just a forearm curl on a bench. And I like to take basically all of my forearm work to failure, because, I mean, they're not going to get fatigued that much, and you can take them to failure. And roughly around like 15 reps, that's kind of the rep range. Basically, you just want to let the dumbbell go all the way down into your fingertips and kind of do like a wrist curl and finger curl at the same time. And also, don't let your elbow come off the bench. I like this one because it puts more tension in the lengthened position compared to like a standing wrist curl where it's just like a really short range of motion and you're only getting it in the very contracted position. So yeah, that's kind of like my go-to for forearm flexors. Now, one part of your forearms that's often neglected is the wrist extensors. Now, these don't add as much mass as the forearm flexors, but they are very important for just kind of that aesthetic look you get on the back of your arm, like all the little details of your forearm. What I like to do for this is band wrist extensions. So basically, kind of like the wrist curls, except your hand is facing down, and you basically have your arm on like any high surface. So I just use a bench that's like all the way up, basically, and you just have it there, right? And then the band, you're basically just gonna put your foot, like, step on the band at whatever part to where, basically you can choose the tension of the band. And you want to, like, have it basically be stepping on it, but you want the band to be slightly behind your hand. So if you're basically facing sideways to the bench, then you want to be stepping on it sort of on the other side that your hand is to the bench. So it's basically kind of creating more tension in the length of position, because bands are kind of already biased toward like shorten range of motion, like a lot more tension there. Because as you stretch the band, it gets harder. So it basically kind of evens it out. It's still not going to be like length and bias, like it's just kind of smoothing it out a little bit, but it's still going to be like a little bit short bias. I find that short bias kind of works pretty good for the wrist extensors because like if you're doing a wrist extension, then as it gets more flexed, your hand kind of wants to like open a bit, so it can make it kind of harder to hold whatever you're using. So I find it just works pretty good in the short position. Also, you just kind of get like a better pump and burn. Also, you want to have your thumb going under the handle for more stability, so it's less about just like the grip and more just on the wrist extensors. You can also just do barbells or dumbbells, same thing as basically the wrist curl, except your hand is the other way and you're just doing the wrist extension. Also, instead of using a bench, you could just sit on the bench and have your arms like resting on your legs with your hands coming off your knees, and you can do that with the wrist curls too, if you don't want to be on your knees at the gym. What I like to do is basically just superset between the wrist curl and extension, because they don't really take that long to recover, and also they don't have much overlap between the two, so why not just superset it, get a better pump, and it's quicker. I do about 2 sets each, and you can choose like whatever variation of a wrist curl or extension you want. Those are just the ones I use, but basically 2 sets of each, and I do that 3 times per week. Might sound like kind of low volume, but it's better to start at that kind of low end, and you can add more if you need. Now, we've covered the flexors, the extensors, but now what about the brachioradialis? Well, this muscle mostly, basically the only way to train it is through elbow flexion, which is mainly what it does. So what I do is just incorporate some hammer curls after every like bicep workout, and that kind of takes care of it. So after I do biceps, I just do 1 or 2 sets of hammer curls, and I do biceps like 3 times a week. For all my forearm training, I kind of just do it as like a separate workout after my workout, like at home usually. But you can do it just after your workout if you want, but make sure you don't do it before, especially if you're doing something that involves a lot of grip, like a pull day, or if you're deadlifting or something, then you probably don't want to fatigue your grip right before. I would say don't really worry about like what 3 days of the week to do them on in terms of like what training days, but I would actually say not to do them on your arm day if you have an arm day, because after an arm day, like your forearms just get so pumped that it's probably not going to be super productive to go directly train them. Because like I'm constantly supersetting bicep, tricep, right? So my forearms are just getting really like pumped and tired. But even then, like it's not that big of a deal. And honestly, don't worry about like the recovery part of it too much, especially if you're kind of starting out skinny, then recovery is really not that big of a deal, and you don't really need to think about fatigue that much. Like you don't got to worry about, oh, I'm doing it the day before legs, so my deadlifts are going to be affected, or the day after arms, so it's like more overlap, more recovery. Like, it's just your forearms. You'll be fine. As long as you start on the low end of volume and just don't go crazy, then you're probably good. Now, what about grip stuff? Well, you could do some grip stuff, but I kind of like to keep it more simple, and also the grip aspect is what you're getting indirectly from all the other training. Forearm training can get really overcomplicated, and there's tons of ways to train it. You got radial and ulnar deviation, rotation. Those things that you put on your fingers that extend them, like the rubber band around your fingers, your grippers, isometric grip, pinch grip, like all these different things. Now, when it comes to radial and ulnar deviation as well as rotation, they kind of work similar muscles to flexion extension, and I don't think you really need to isolate them that much. Like just doing the flexion extension paired with maybe some grip, even just passively, that'll get you most of it. Like what I found is if I make things just too complicated, then I'm way less likely to stick to it. And so I think if you can get like 80% of the growth from 20% of the exercises when it comes to your forearms, then I'll take that. But if you can stick to it, then I think it's great to have variety and do, all the exercises or whatever. But realistically, you're going to want to have just some basics that you stick to consistently. And then if you want, you can add, ulnar and radial deviation, rotation, all these different grip implements. You can have fun with that. Like if there's a certain grip implement that you just really enjoy, then do it. Because, if it makes it fun for you, then you're a lot more likely to actually be consistent. And that's kind of what's important at the end of the day. Because if you enjoy your training, you're going to get probably more results from it. Yeah, I hope some of those things helped you. And you just don't see people training their forearms that often. Like one time I was sitting with a friend and I just kind of went to like drink my water like this, and then he saw my forearms and he was like, "Oh wow, your forearms actually look kind of jacked." I mean, my veins were kind of popping. It was kind of hot as well. And he was like, you know, a lot of my friends, they have big upper arms because a lot of his friends like work out a lot. He was like, they have big upper arms, but then not really that much forearms because they don't isolate them. So I really appreciated that. And yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you permission to go and train your forearms directly because if you actually want to grow them, that's what you gotta do. What do you say next video I use this as a mic? This little dumbbell handle. Not bad, huh? I watched this video yesterday and this guy had his mic attached to a fork. I thought that was pretty funny, so I don't know. I mean, that's it for this video. Have a good one.